Good afternoon. In my consultancy solution services, I am going to propose a framework for explaining how the interventions aim at impacting the thought process. Framework of framework of interventions. The framework is a ingenious technique. It will differ from consultant to consultant. My framework is based on directly impacting the individual. My framework is aimed at impacting directly the individual. Individual like you people, the workers in the organization. Why it is aimed at the individual? Because the individual is the basic factor of the organization. Organization and the individual. Organization and individual. Now, the framework of the intervention, first aims at interaction. Know the climate, get acquaintance, search the mind of the customer, get the flow of information, analyze the information, develop the propositions, find the relevance of propositions and categorize the propositions to get the pathway for interventions. this is my own way of framework of doing. I don't care what other consultants are telling. In my framework for interventions, I will first interact with your workers, with your fellow colleagues, with your employees, trying to understand the prevailing organizational climate. Climate involves all the rules, regulations, policy that govern the internal organization, internal climate of the organization, and how the workforce are responding to that internal environment. Getting acquaintance. Getting acquaintance is how they are correlating themselves with the internal organizations as much as possible to sustain on the job. Getting acquaintance to sustain on the job, getting acquainted with the rules and internal rules regulations, so that there is maximum I can say juxtaposition of the two elements in the organization that results in the sustenance, flow of work, and mutual cooperation of the organization. That is the dynamics of the workplace. That this juxtaposition of the internal organization climate and the people, the workforce, with the medium of the rules and regulations is the dynamics of the workplace. So getting acquainted with the dynamics. Search the mind. Search the mind is again a process of starting the data collection, where we are searching the acceptance in the mind of the workforce, acceptance of the dynamics of the workplace, which I explained just now, which is the juxtaposition of the workforce, the getting accustomed, acquainted with in the process of sustenance or consistency, trying to get accustomed to the internal environment, and the medium being the rules, regulations, whatever are there, policy, whatever are there within the organizational climate. And such the mind is the first process of collecting the data, where we are now trying to correlate, collect, and find out the acceptance, find out the rejection, find out the necessary feedback, find out the level of acceptability, find out the level of customization of behavior to suit circumstances, to sustain the organization, to grow and proliferate within the internal ecosystem of the organization. So you get the flow of information from all these investigations, and then you analyze the investigation that you have done in the form of the level of the acceptance, in the form of the type of customizations in the in the behavior of the individual, in terms of professional, in the how they are trying to accustom themselves in the organization, by accepting the new norms, by accepting the new norms in the internal ecosystem of the organization, trying to correlate with their values, with their thinking, with their values, that this is the norm, this is how they have to abide at the workplace to sustain themselves, to consistently perform in the workplace. So that is the analysis of the investigation, which develops the propositions. It develops the propositions, and once the propositions are there, meaning what is the acceptance level at which the maximum correlation is happening between the workforce and the internal organizational climate, and the medium being the rules and regulations and the policies. So the proposition at which the maximum this correlations are happening and closer to 1, as close as possible, the stronger the correlation, the better. That proposition we seek to explore. That proposition we seek to explore to get the pathway or roadmap to the framework that can be given as a concrete result for the interventions that we initially started by impacting the behavior of the particular individual. So the interventions, as I told, are at the focus of it is the behavior of the individual, how to get the behavior, the role of the individual being affected in a manner such that they are able to come up to a level of sophistication that the organization demands or needs to come up to a certain level of the market, or deliver at the market level, or develop some innovation, develop some kind of a superior advantage in terms of a better quality workforce. So the advantage that you are seeking could also be gotten through, instead of attrition, instead of laying off people, you can develop that workforce through these interventions to a level of the workforce, to the level of the market, that is the sophistication being aimed by the particular organization, particular management team. About the framework, I will talk a little more, that uh, how do we categorize the propositions. Once we have found the most relevant proposition where the correlation between the two elements, the workforce and the internal environment of the organization, is maximum, then we categorize the proposition, the one with the strongest being at the top. So once these 1, 2, 3 propositions with the strongest correlations have been categorized, from them how do we derive a framework? That is the main thing. How do we get the framework from that? The framework is the output, it is the result we are giving to the organization, to the management of the organization, to the stakeholders of the organization, that if you follow this kind of a defined framework that as a consultant I am providing you, then definitely there will be a upgraded level in the acquaintance of the internal workforce with the internal environment or internal ecosystem of the organization, so that you are at the maximum advantage in terms of your competitors in the work, in the market, or in the domain in which you are functioning, in the industry in which you are functioning. So that is the level of expertise, that is the level of efficiency, affirmation to the kind of projections that the employee would like to state for himself or herself in their appraisal, and which is just not a projection then, but it is affirmed also towards the end of this exercise by way of this framework, that those projections are affirmed to and customized in terms of delivery of the services, in terms of delivery of the solutions, in terms of delivery of the expertise, understanding and the experience, to collectively form a very innovative, very sophisticated level of appeal or appreciation of the quality of work, quality of the organization, quality of the ultimate product service being rendered by the particular company in their domain, in their industry, and with the advantage that is going to benefit the workforce. So I hope that you have liked this small video clip, and I will now give you the with the categorization of the propositions, the framework, which is arbitrary, as I am not now with any organization, which is arbitrary, but it will give you an indication of the level that you can achieve with this framework in your organization, and how as a consultant I am going to benefit your company in short run, middle middle term, and in the long run also. Thank you.